Authorities have identified the suspect in a shooting that killed one person and wounded 7 others inside a crowded northwest Dallas nightclub. The incident occurred at 1:30 a.m. on Saturday the 20th of March, when officers were called to Pryme Bar, located at 10,333 Technology Blvd in Dallas, Texas. When the authorities arrived, they found 8 people shot, 5 women and 3 men, ranging in age from 18 to 46. Of those victims who were shot, all survived except for one. Her name was Daisy Navarrete, and she was a 21-year-old woman who died from gunshot wounds, whereas the other 7 victims' conditions ranged from good to critical. Investigators determined that an argument had broken out between 2 people inside the venue, and after a witness tried to intervene. It was said the shooter walked in through a side door and came to blows with another man near the front. The 2 fought near the entrance, then 9 to 12 shots rang out. The music cut off, and people started panicking, shoving one another in a scramble to get out the back door. Piles of blood-stained rags and clothes, shards of glass and bottles of alcohol were littered around the club. A light pink hill that employees say belonged to one of the victims sat near the entrance by a pile of stained clothing. The authorities identified 21-year-old Jonathan Lackery Terrell Rogers as the suspect. He currently remains at large and is wanted on 1 count of murder and 7 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. He is described as an African American, standing at 5 feet 8 inches tall and weighing about 170 pounds. He has dreadlocks, a blue shirt, a hat and a jacket. Police said he's considered armed and dangerous. The woman has been fatally shot by her ex-boyfriend after ambushing her outside her home before turning the gun on himself. Bao Yang was a 39-year-old woman and mother of 2. She worked 3 jobs to support her 2 sons and recently finished studies to become a nurse, but she somehow crossed paths with a 39-year-old man named Duo Lau, who had a sex offender history. At 8:30 a.m. on the 20th of March, police responded to Yang's home after a 911 call was received regarding shots fired, located at 1920 Montana Avenue East in St. Paul, Minnesota. When authorities arrived, they found a single mother of 2 had suffered gunshot wounds after her ex-boyfriend Lau opened fire on her outside her home before turning the gun on himself. Lau was pronounced dead at the scene, however Yang was taken to hospital where she succumbed to her injuries. A shotgun and a handgun were found at the scene, and the incident was treated as a murder-suicide. It remains unknown how the 2 met. Lau was a registered sex offender for a conviction for sexual assault of a child in 2003 in Wisconsin. He was released from prison in 2014. Yang had made a number of complaints about Lau to the authorities, accusing him of relentless harassment. They have been called to her address 15 times in the last year, with 3 of those times relating to domestic abuse. In July of 2019, Yang broke up with Lau, citing that they were incompatible. On the 16th of August 2019, Lau had barged into her home, smashed her phone to stop her calling 911, threw her on the couch, raped her, and then shaved her head. Yang went back and forth between pursuing and withdrawing charges against Lau. Late last year, Lau held a teenage girl against her will, plied her with alcohol, and forced her to engage in sexual activities with him. He walked free 2 days later after posting a $10,000 bond on the 1st of March, before shooting Yang and himself weeks later. A woman died inside a South Beach, Miami, Florida hotel after 2 men drugged and raped her. Christine Engelhardt was a 24-year-old woman from Richboro, Pennsylvania. She was a pizza manager and travelled to South Beach alone for the spring break. On Thursday, the 18th of March, investigators were called to a hotel room after a lifeless semi-naked body was discovered there. Surveillance footage from the Albion Hotel, located along James Avenue, captures her with 2 men entering the complex around 1 a.m. that morning. 21-year-old Edward Collier and 24-year-old Dorian Taylor first drugged her, possibly with fentanyl, and then raped her. They then stole a cell phone, cash, and credit cards as soon as she fell unconscious. They left her for dead, as hotel cameras caught the pair exiting the premises about an hour after they arrived. They then used the credit cards at various places, including liquor stores. Investigators believe she made contact with the suspects in a restaurant, A detective said the surveillance footage shows Taylor holding Engelgard by the neck so she could stand up, making it clear that she was unable to consent. Both men were arrested over the weekend and were charged with sexual battery and burglary and are held without bond. The authorities believe the men gave Engelgard a green pill to drug her. An investigation into the cause of death is still pending. If it's found that the pill led to her death, the suspects could also face manslaughter or murder charges.